I will try what you said to see whether somebody can get me for €1. No, there is no.
You find somebody?
No, I found a solution though. I had a
Oh,
small piece of chocolate in my bag.
oh.
That is a second solution.
Yeah. I've got the pot on. I'm gonna make chai. So what time is it there? It's got to be 6 o'clock or 3.
11:30 in the morning
Yeah. Hmm.
and 3 p.m. in India.
Okay. So it's Mark is about 10:30 then.
Mark, you are 10:30?
Hello,
What's the time at your place?
10:30.
Huh? That's a good time.
It's a good time of a Sunday.
For me, all days are Sundays only.
Dream life.
No, I woke up at today. I woke up late, 5 o'clock. Usually, I'm awake by 3 o'clock.
Nice.
Yesterday, one of my
Hmm.
old students from Italy came. Now she has a baby, 2.5 years old. So we played in the park for a while. Maybe that's why I was tired. I looked at the girl too much.
Tired eyes.
But she's very beautiful. Her name is Alice Bella. So she said she will take every day 2 days classes with me. She has to travel 2.5 hours to come here. So she
Wow.
said she will come and stay for one night with her friend, and her mother will look after the baby. Today, Kiara will not come. I think we should start.
Okay.
Let me remove this file. I look more shiny. Any question you have?
I was just wondering if you could actually post the video from the recording of yesterday's class up. Would that be possible?
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks.
Anyway, yesterday's video, what we covered was, we covered how we can remove the sorrow totally. And the end point of that was, you have to get to one place. It is called Viveka Khyati. Viveka Khyati. Khyati means realization, not just understanding, but actual realization. And Viveka means, which means to discriminate. So distinguish. So in Viveka, you are distinguishing the Purush from rest of the world, that is perceptible world. The Purush is not changing, and the rest of the world is always changing. So rest of the world, nothing can be guaranteed. That's why it never gives complete satisfaction. And therefore you have to distinguish so that you can try to stay not attached to that external world. That is the idea. So to do that, first you have to know that the Purush exists, because we only know the world, but we don't know the Purush. To know the Purush, you have to come to that state. And that state is mental state. It is not a physical state. So there at the end, it said to reach that state, you have to do the yoga anga, means limbs of yoga you have to practice. Anushtan means very serious practice. So the last sutra of the previous chapter was Yoganga Anushtanat Ashuddhi Shaye Jnana Deeptira Viveka Khyate, means that if you follow it very seriously, you will get there. So now we go to the next chapter, and next chapter is exactly describing that Ashtanga Yoga. The next chapter's name is Ashtanga Yoga, and Ashtanga means 8 limbs. Yoga practice made of 8 limbs. Ashtanga Yoga means, in the Patanjali, basically yoga means practice. In Sankhya Yoga, yoga means theory of yoga. And in Vedanta, yoga means joining of Brahman with individual soul. And in the normal colloquial language, yoga means coincidence. Like I met that girl yesterday, that's one yoga. Anyway, now in the Ashtanga Yoga chapter, the first one sutra is, see, in the Patanjali's second chapter, that's where he mentions the Ashtanga Yoga. And he immediately gives the names of the limbs. They are Yama, Niyam, Asan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. He gives the niyam and he says Yoganga Ashtangani. That means there are 8 limbs. These are the 8 limbs. Whereas in my book, what I did was I introduced one new sutra. And that sutra is saying Yoganga Anushtanani Suvijnayani. That means Suvijnaya means you should understand them properly. Because people think that they understood, but they don't understand. They think that non-violence means eating vegetarian food. Not like that. He says, Yoganga Anushtanani Suvijnayani. Means you should understand them properly. Exactly what he's saying. Then only you will get Viveka Khyati. If you become vegetarian, you will not get Viveka Khyati, because there are so many vegetarians in the world. They are not getting any Vivek Khyati. In fact, there are many vegetarian people who are very cruel also. They may not be eating non-veg, but they may be killing each other. And then that sutra says, Kanichin Nityani Vaikalpikani Aitarani. Now, the interesting thing, what I did was, in Patanjali's sutras, there are 8 limbs. And he is telling that these 8 limbs you have to follow. But in my statement, what I'm saying is you have to understand them properly. And some of them are must. You must do that. Some of them you must do. For example, you must meditate. If you don't meditate, you are not doing Patanjali. Whereas some of them are optional. They are not must. For example, pranayam is not must. Without pranayam, you can do the meditation. So Patanjali has not written like that. I added this portion there because pranayam may not be possible even for some people. Okay. Now he gives the list of the limbs in the 6.3. Yama, Niyam, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi. This is only a list of 8 limbs. Ashtav Angani means there are 8 limbs. That's all he says. Now, in 6.4, he is telling the first limb. The first limb itself is made up of 5 parts. In the first limb, instead of saying 5 parts, it is better to say 5 practices because it's all practice. So it's better to say there are 5 practices in the first limb. The first limb is called Yama. Now, Yama means what you should not do, what you must not do. Yama means you should not do them. So, in Patanjali, he is giving the 5 practices which show what you must not do. So, the first one is ahimsa. Himsa means violence. So, in the violence, in the philosophy, the violence is created in 3 different ways. That means you actually commit that violence, like you go and kill somebody, or you go and cut the animal and eat it. That is a violence. The another one is you do not do anything, but you mentally do it. Like you think that you should go and kill somebody. So you are mentally doing it. And everything in the human being happens mentally first. So that is why they are blaming Donald Trump that he himself did not go to the Capitol building, but he instigated other people. So in his mind, he is having that thought of attacking the Capitol building. Okay. So the violence can be done mentally. And there is one more way that violence can be done. And that is by speech. That means when you do a speech, you can hurt somebody by speech. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did also. So anyway, there are 3 types of violence: with the body, with the mind, and with the speech. So these words you should remember if you are a serious student of philosophy: body, mind, and speech. This comes again and again in philosophy. So in the Sanskrit language, it is called Kayika. Kayika means bodily, Manasika means mental, and Vachika, Vachik means speech. Okay. The second yama is Satya. Satya means you should not do what is not true, but you should not deal with what is not true. So the interesting thing part of it is like this. See, Sat means what exists factually. Sat means what exists factually. And Satya means that you are always associating with factual truth. But the interesting thing is that later, when you look at the later sutra, it tells you what should happen when you follow this yama. So in that he says that if you follow that Satya properly, what will happen is you will come to know what is going to happen later. That means whenever that person speaks, he's not talking about the factual truth of what happened. For example, I was in Pune yesterday, and if I tell you that I was in Pune yesterday, that is not the truth he's talking about. He's talking about where I will be after 10 years on the same day. If I can tell that after 10 years where I will be exactly the same day, then I am following that Satya. So that is a very difficult practice, as you can see it clearly. Anyway, now the second yama is Satya. ahimsa satya. Then the third one he says is asteya. Asteya means you should not steal others' property. Okay. Steya means stealing, and asteya means non-stealing. So what happens is that in the normal life, you get many opportunities to steal others' property because people may not be there at all. So you can quickly take one chocolate from the jar or something like that. But this is a very ordinary example. So they are saying that you should not take others' property. Then the fourth one is called brahmacharya, and brahmacharya means celibacy. Now, some people try to say that celibacy is not sex, it is just a thought, etc. That's not true. It has to be sexual celibacy. That means that you should not have orgasm. Basically, you should not get orgasm. And this should not be forced. It should be a, as a practice, you should do it. Like you should make it natural into your behavior. It's like, just like when you start doing any asana or any basketball game, etc. You first start playing it, and after some time, you become master of that. And then you don't feel it is so difficult to put the ball in that basket. Similarly, you should feel that sexual celibacy is very natural to you. It's a very hard step, extremely hard. I think according to me, it is the third hardest thing in the world. And that is why even the great people, ultimately they cannot do it. Even if they become monast, they might become priest or monast or something like that. But they cannot get rid of that attraction. It's very hard. Actually, in my personal opinion, it is possible only when you get self-realized. Before that, you will always have that attraction. When you get self-realized, you come to know that sex is only the material part, but both the souls are exactly same. So, according to me, it is impossible to do it. But what I'm saying is that if you are able to do it for the social work, etc. Otherwise, you better get married and get out of that. Otherwise, you will be having some affairs and you will become world famous like Osho and other people are becoming. So that's why it is better to have a married life. That is one sutra in Adi Yoga. When you study Adi Yoga book, you'll find that sutra is there. Why it is changing? Okay. Something is changing here. Oh, both of you look, Mark's room looks dark. I don't know why. Now, ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya we covered. And aparigraha. Aparigraha means, see, pari means perimeter. Pari and perimeter, this word comes from the same language. So pari means total and graha means to collect. Graha means collect and grahastha, this word you have to know. Grahastha. Grahastha means the householder. Householder. So householder, what it does is, he builds one house and he lives inside the house. And whatever he needs for that house, he collects it, like chairs, table, etc. But the monastic is not supposed to collect anything at all. He's supposed to be on the road, like me, just now. So the parigraha means household. You create your own wealth. And he says, aparigraha means you should not do that. It's very hard, you should not. That is why you will find that those who are considered like the epitome of spirituality, like Jesus Christ or certain saints, they have not much belonging. They have only clothes, one or two clothes, and some pot, one pot for eating, etc. Not like having a car and so many other things like a palace. Nowadays, people have it, even the religious. So we covered what the yamas are. Any questions from yamas? So, Yama is telling what you must not do.
Sorry, Neil. How do you spell Garasta? The last householder one?
Grahastha is Grahastha. Grahastha.
Okay, thanks.
Graha means to collect, and stha means the person who stays in a collected things. Collected means house. Department of Housing. Okay. Now next one, he's saying that, see, now this is where the interesting part comes. That Patanjali is not talking about the ordinary yamas, like you should not smoke and this kind of shamas. He's talking about some very serious stuff. So that seriousness is shown in 6.5. In 6.5, he's telling that Jati Desha Kala Samaya Navachinna Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. That means Jati means species. You already know. Jati means species in which you are born. Desha means a space where you are, like Italy or Germany or like that. And Kala means time. Kala means time. Time means like 200 BC, 201 BC or like that. And Samaya means occasion. Occasion means like marriage or um, funeral or something like that. So what he's saying is Jati Desha Kala Samaya Anavachinna means Anavachinna means they should not be affected at all, adversely affected. Anavachinna means they should not be broken due to these four. That means regardless of what species you're talking about, whether it is a bird or bacteria or animal or man or tiger, or whether it is USA or any other country, or any time throughout the whole time, and Samaya means on any occasion, these should not be broken. Which one? Those yamas, they should not be broken. Sarvabhauma. Sarvabhauma means they are supreme. Sarvabhauma means they are supreme. And if you are able to do that, then that is called Mahavratam. Mahavratam means that's called, that is the profound observance. So he's saying that you should follow like that. You should follow this like that. Okay. That is why, Mahatma Gandhi was not non-violent. He was a violent person. In some cases, he will have violence and some cases not violent. In his own wife's case, he's violent. In other ladies' case, he's sleeping with nude ladies for becoming celibate, but not becoming celibate. So this way, he's very compassionate to the Muslim population and not compassionate to Hindu population. I don't know why. Maybe to get the name and fame. So this way he is not non-violent. Now we have to go to the next one. The list of niyamas. Shaucha. Shaucha means cleanliness. That cleanliness contains mental cleanliness and physical cleanliness, both. There is no spiritual cleanliness because spirit is always constant. It doesn't need any cleanliness. Then santosha. Tusha means to stay happy, and santosha means you are totally happy. How you are totally happy? You have to make yourself happy, not that you have become happy, but you have to show that you are totally happy. That means your is called contentment in English language. Contentment. Then tapa. Tapa means you have to do austerity, and austerity means you should do something which will be hard to do, and you have to do it with happy face. Something hard you have to do, which is harder. If it is something very easy, that is not austerity. Okay, next one is swadhyay. Swadhyay means self-study. That means you have to do some self-study, and that self-study is not defined by Patanjali. So you have to understand what that self-study means. That self-study is the study related to your becoming fit for meditation. That means you have to believe. I told you in the past that you have to believe in this theory first. Otherwise, you can't practice it. And next thing is that when you do the study, you have to do the study in such a way that you are you become prepared mentally for doing that meditation later. That is the last step of Patanjali, to do that meditation. So what he's doing is he's preparing your mind, though it looks like body. He's preparing your mind for doing that. Then next one is, there was in the old Patanjali, there was one more niyama that is called Ishvara Pranidhan. Ishvara Pranidhan means contemplative surrender to Ishvara. So there is a concept called Ishvara, which we'll do later on. And you have to do a contemplative, means mentally you have to surrender. Now, this Ishwar Pranidhan was the fifth niyama, that is the, and now I forgot to tell you what niyama means. See, yama means what you must not do, and niyama means what you should do. So niyama is the things which one should do if they want to do it as a part of the 8 limbs. So niyama means what you should do, and we so far covered shaucha means cleanliness, santosh means contentment, tapa means austerity, swadhyaya means self-study, and Ishvara Pranidhan was the fifth one, which I removed from Patanjali Sutras. That Ishvara Pranidhan in the niyamas, I removed them because according to me, it should not be there at all in the niyamas. Why it should not be in niyamas? That we will do when we come to the chapter number 11 or 10, I think. 11. So, what I did was I removed that and I added one very important thing which is missing in Patanjali, according to me. Not only in Patanjali, but it is missing in most of the yoga practices. That is the proper diet and exercise. So I added there Yukta Ahara Vihar. I got this idea from Bhagavad Gita, Yukta Ahara Vihar. So Yukta means appropriate diet and exercise. According to me, without appropriate diet and exercise, you cannot progress at all. It's impossible to progress. So these are the niyamas. Now the interesting part comes. The Patanjali, when he gives this list, some people take it very lightly. It is not a light list. It's a very, very serious list. Because in the next 2 sutras or next 5 to 10 sutras, he tells what should happen if you properly do it. That means that to be categorized as Patanjali's yamas and niyamas, those effects must come. That much you have to practice, not just little bit of vegetarianism. So now we'll go into that list of what should happen. So the first thing is, if he's saying that if you get any problem, like suppose you are getting some obstacles, then you should do a mental thinking opposite to that thinking. So what he's saying is that suppose you want to follow non-violence. Oh, I gave one homework last time. That is the 7 states which you will get. Did you do that? That last time I gave one homework. That when you reach the Viveka Khyati, what happens? The Saptada state, that is Tasya Saptava Pranta Bhumi Prajna. That means you get into 7 kind of state of the intellect. Anyway, what you do is, you should do that homework next weekend. So let me tell you the original sutra number for that. Tasya Saptada Pranta Bhumi Prajna. I will message you that sutra number and you have to tell me what those 7 states are. Find them out from any source and write them and send me. It's mainly applicable to only Kiara and Mark. But if David does it also, he gets credit for it. Okay. Now, what he's saying is that whenever there is, yes.
Oh, sorry, Neil. Yeah. No, I was just going to ask that what you said the last time, but I think you were just about to repeat it there. If you get any problems or obstacles, or something.
So what he's saying is that obstacle is called vitarka, but that vitarka means mental obstacle. not physical. So he's talking about mental obstacle. Whenever there is a mental obstacle, we tarka is deals with the mental. Now, what he is basically saying, for example, is if you get a thought of violence, suppose I'm very angry with Donald Trump now, and I get a thought of violence. So he says that you have to create an opposite thought. You have to create a thought of not harming Donald Trump. Now, he is not saying that for political reason. For political reason, you should create violence. But what he is saying is, if you want to succeed in the meditation, that thought should not disturb your mind at all. So anyway, he is saying that whenever there are problems, mental problems, which will make you not follow those yamas and niyamas. They are the obstacle in following the yamas and niyamas. That time you have to create an opposite thought and try to cancel that original thought. So in his sutras, he has clearly mentioned them here. Vitarka, Himsa, Daya, Krutakarita. So he says that those opposite thoughts are basically violence, etc. So if you take the list of all the yamas, 5 yamas and 5 niyamas, you can create opposite of that. Those are the vitarka, and he has written himsa, adaya means etc. So basically you have to make a negative of the all of those. So let me quickly make it. See, yamas are non-violence. So opposite will be violence. Yama is satya means truth. The opposite will be false. Yama is asteya means non-stealing. So opposite will be stealing. Yama is brahmacharya means celibacy. Opposite will be non-celibacy. Yama is aparigraha means not collecting things. So opposite will be collecting things. Similarly, in the niyamas, shaucha means cleanliness. Opposite will be not cleanliness. Santosha means contentments, and opposite will be discontentments. Then yama is tapa means austerity. Opposite will be not austerity. You are very loose in the behavior. Then niyama is swadhyaya means self-study, and opposite of that will be not being very regular in the self-study. So you'll find that most of the yoga people are doing that. Then yukta RVR means take proper diet and rest, exercise. Opposite will be not taking proper diet and rest, exercise, sorry. So what he's saying is that if that is happening, he's telling that they should not be done in any way. Like Kruta Karita means you yourself should not do it. Karita means you should not get it done by somebody else. Like you yourself are not doing any violence, but you may be getting it through somebody else by employing. Should not do that. Then third one is that you are not doing and you are not employing anyone, but anumodit means you are supporting it. Like you are mentally supporting that. That also you should not do it. And then he is saying that why you will do like that? Because of lobha means there is some gain you are getting. So you are greedy. Krodha means you are angry. And moha means that you are attached to something. That's why you are doing. Out of delusion, like you are deluded by something and you are doing it. So later he says mrudu madhya adi matra means in small quantity, medium quantity and large quantity. So he says that whether they are small quantity, medium quantity, large quantity, they are generally accompanied by greed, anger and delusion. Sometimes those obstacles, mental obstacles, are you created them or you got it through somebody else or you are supporting those wrong behaviors. And vitarka means the mentally feeling of wrong behavior. So these are all vitarka, and he says that you should think that they are dukkha, ajnana, ananta phala. That means they are going to give you later lot of pain. And they are ajnana. That means they will lead to more delusion. They will create a delusion. So if you feel that violence is okay, because you belong to certain party and for nation that violence is good, etc. But what he is saying is that it will create pain later in terms of your personal life. He's not talking about national life. You have to understand this again and again, that Patanjali is talking about personal life. So he says that if you want to succeed in that meditation and Viveka Khati, you should not have those at all. Zero quantity should be there. That is how you have to think. That means you have to go on thinking that this is going to create problem later. So we should not do it at all. So he says that whenever a thought of any of this wrong behavior comes in your mind, create opposite thought. How do you create opposite thought? Think that they will create pain, they will create some problem, or this will ultimately give a wrong understanding. So this way you have to do it. Okay. Now he's telling that when you do those yama and niyam properly, what will happen? So what I will do is, I will give this to you as a homework. It is given in next 10 sutras, that if you follow ahimsa properly and ahimsa is mastered by you, what will happen? If satya is mastered by you, what will happen? If asteya is mastered by you, what will happen? If celibacy is mastered by you, what will happen? And if you become, if you are not collecting things and you are in your mind, you are not holding on to things, what will happen? If you are totally clean physically, what will happen? Mentally, what will happen? If you become content, then what will happen? If you do tapas, what will happen? Tapas means austerity. And if you do swadhyaya, what will happen? So, if you do a proper diet and what will happen? Now, as I told you, I removed the Ishwar Pranidhan from there. So, I will only cover this part, that if you do proper diet and this Ashtanga Yoga Safalya means that the 8 limbs will become successful only if you have proper diet and proper exercise. Otherwise, you will not succeed in them. Okay. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
Could you give us an example of proper diet? Is it like a Ayurvedic diet or just like a vegetarian diet or?
The proper diet and proper exercise is what is conducive to the meditation, because the ultimate practice of Patanjali is meditation. As long as they are conducive, that's why I said proper. So proper for one person may not mean exactly proper to another person. See, for physical benefit, you must have proper diet. For example, vitamin C should be present in anybody's diet, whether he is Donald Trump or whether it is Mark or David. Vitamin C is required by everybody. But as far as the meditation practice is concerned, suppose David is already Dalai Lama or David is already Buddha, he may be able to eat some non-vegetarian food and not affect him. But even in his case, he might create a bad example for others. So he might follow vegetarianism. So what I'm saying is, the ultimate goal of the Ashtanga Yoga is to go into Samadhi state, Viveka Khati. So you have to, that proper diet and proper exercise, they are relative. It's not fixed. But of course, vegetarian diet and having all the vitamins and all the minerals, all this automatically will come because they are going to add to your health. So that is what it means. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we covered the yamas and niyamas. We covered the yamas and niyamas. Now we go to the third limb, that is asana. And asana is very simple. I will not spend too much time in that. He says the asana should be stable and comfortable. That means you should be able to sit very comfortably for very, very long time, like hours. So to get that, it is a sitting posture where you are awake, not sleeping, and it should be comfortable. And when you do it, you will find that though it is a physical practice to start with, after some time it will start becoming mental because you will find it very difficult to continue. So he says that you have to go on continuing it, slowly increasing it so that you can sit for a prolonged time, comfortable and steady without moving. Why without moving? Because when you don't move at all and you are totally comfortable, then your mind will come into picture. That means you will go in meditation state, not in the physical exercise and watching whether your spine is straight, whether you are doing or nothing. You should watch. It should go into a stable state without remembering the body. Then in 6.21, he says how you should do it. He's saying that you have to make your you start doing that sitting practice and don't tense your body. It should be, you have to keep it comfortable without tensing. And as soon as you reach your end point of your comfortableness, you stop and then go on increasing. That means you should be able to do that practice and observe that you are not specifically putting any effort for sitting. So in the class, when we say sit straight with spine erect, that means you are making an effort. Here what he's saying is without any special effort and without feeling any tenseness, you should continue sitting for a long time, steady and comfortable. That is what he's saying. And Ananta Samapatti means that he's saying that you have to do a Samapatti means you have to kind of meditate. You have to kind of meditate in the infinite. So you just imagine that you are a part of the infinite. That's going to help according to him. According to me, that is not necessary. You just sit and try to increase the time. That's all. According to him, you should do Ananta Samapatti. Now, next one, he says what should happen after you do proper mastery of that asana, sitting pose. He says tato dvandva anivega. That means after that, there should be no dichotomies like cold feeling, hot feeling, pain feeling, pleasure feeling. Nothing should be there. That basically it means you should completely forget your body and your mind should also become sufficiently stable. So you are not caught up in any feelings. That's what he is saying. Okay, so that's all he says about asanas. Only 2-3 sutras on asanas in the entire Patanjali. All right, now the next limb. So we covered yama, niyama, and asana. Now we go to the next limb. And the next limb is called pranayam. So see, this subject of pranayam, you have to first understand what it means. Prana means energy, bioenergy, which sustains the human life. Prana vayu means gas prana. Gas prana means oxygen. So everybody knows that oxygen gives the life. That means as soon as the oxygen is stopped, we die. So oxygen is most important for life. That's why he says prana vayu means oxygen. Now, prana inside the body means the energy which is making the body functions work. And this prana is made up of 5 different types. They 5 different types take different functions in the body, etc. Now, the interesting part is in the practice of yoga, they are telling that pranayam deals with breath only. That means you have to, in the practice, you have to only work with the breath according to the Patanjali's pranayam. This one you have to understand. Now, there is another subject which we are not doing just now. It's called Hatha Yoga. And in Hatha Yoga, pranayam starts with the breathing first. And after some time, in the pranayam, they are saying that you should get a mastery over that energy which is flowing in the body. And that mastery and then manipulation of that energy inside the body, that is called pranayam in Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga Pranayam is different from Patanjali's. So anyway, this much you have to understand. He deals with the breathing. So now he is saying that he is giving the pranayam description. In that, it starts with one very important word in the Patanjali. Tasmin sati. Tasmin means when that is mastered or when that is existent. What existent? When the asana is comfortable and steady. When that happens, then only you have to do the pranayam, according to Patanjali in 6.23. Tasmin sati Shwasa Prasad Gati Vicheda Pranayam. So he says that in the breathing there is inhalation and there is exhalation. So you have to manipulate the speed of that. That means you have to go on making it long and slow, and viched means you have to stop it also. So you have to make it inhalation long, exhalation long, and stop after inhalation or exhalation. So there are three parts: inhalation, exhalation, and stopping. These you have to manipulate. 6.23. That is called pranayam. So you can see that all this closing of one nostril and this and that, all crap is not there. Directly work on the breath. That's all. In Patanjali. In Hatha Yoga, you do all those closing, etc. Okay. Now he is saying is that he is describing in 6.24 how that pranayam looks like. He says that you can stop it outside or stop it inside, and you can make it long, dirgha, and sukshma. That means it should be long and sukshma also, not making sound like ujjayi. So in Patanjali, there is no ujjayi and there is no sound. It should be very soft, like you have to focus as if you are meditating on that breath. So long, subtle, stopping outside or stopping inside. And how do you count that? How many you did or how long you are doing? You have to use desha, means you have to use the space, that is amount of air. Then kala means how long you are taking it, and sankhya. So you can count it also. You can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the mind. So you know how long you took that breath. So this way, the pranayam is defined in the 6.24. Now, I told you there is inhalation, exhalation, and stopping. These three you can manipulate. So there are three types of actions. But he says that there is one more action. That is, after you master those three, what will happen is, without your practicing or without any special effort, automatically your breathing system will stop. Like it will become very, very small. The speed will be small. It will be speed will be very small. That means it will be very slow. It will not make any sound at all, and it will be so slow that it is stopped almost. This is called the fourth type of pranayam, which is given in 6.25. That fourth pranayam is very, very important in Patanjali, because that fourth pranayam is the place where you start getting focus of mind totally. Before that, you are using mind for breath. When you get the fourth pranayam, your mind becomes very, very stable due to that automatic stoppage of the mind. So the breath and the mind, they're connected. That everybody knows that when your mind is disturbed, the breathing is disturbed. Anyway, now the interesting thing is, in 6.26, he tells what will happen with the pranayam. He doesn't say your health will improve and your asthma will go. Nothing he says. No health and fitness. He's only saying that tatakshiyate prakasha varanam. Prakasha means sattva guna, and sattva means knowledge. And knowledge means totally focused mind. So rajas means activity, and that means disturbed mind. And tamas means sleeping mind. So disturbed mind and sleeping mind will go away, and only the sattva mind will remain. That means your mind will become highly focused. Tatakshiyate prakashavaranam. So he says the covering of rajas and tamas on the sattva will be removed, and in 6.27 he says dharana sucha yogyata manasa. Now dharana is not defined yet, but dharana means beginning of meditation. And yogyata means eligibility and manasa means mind. So he says your mind will be ready for meditation. So in the Patanjali, pranayam is a practice for making the mind for meditation, ready for meditation. It has nothing to do with health and fitness. This part you have to understand. So we have covered the fourth limb and now we'll go to the fifth limb. And after fifth limb, we'll stop. So the fifth limb is called pratyahar. So ahar means taking something in. So I told you that Patanjali deals with the mental yoga practice. So taking something in means you are taking some sensation in. And sensation is going through senses. That is why ahar means taking the perception of external entities into the mind. That's all ahar means. And prati means opposite. So pratyahar means that you have to stop taking that external perceptions into the mind and you have to make those same senses try to perceive inside. That means you have to make those, the senses are turned outside now, you have to turn them inside. That's what it means. Reversal of senses towards inside. Inside means mind. Now he is saying that how to do that. 6.28. Svavishaya asamprayoge chittasya swarupa anukara iva indriyanam. So he says that each of the senses, like sense of seeing, sense of smelling, etc. Those five senses, each of them are meant for one kind of activity, one kind of object. So the sense of smell is meant for smelling only. And what is smelling? He is smelling that smells tanmatra, which is out of the five tanmatras. So every object has all five tanmatras. The smell part of that will be sensed by the smell sense. Smell tanmatra perceived by sense of smell. Then form tanmatra, that is rupa, will be sensed by the sense of sight or vision. Like these five tanmatras are perceived by five different senses and each of the object has all the five tanmatras. That's why the object is perceived by all five senses at one shot. Smell, sight, sound, everything. Now, he says that each of the sense is meant for particular object. You should try not to do that. That means try to not see with the sense of vision. Try to not smell with the sense of smell. So the interesting thing is, if your mind is not controlled, what will happen? The sense of smell will go on smelling. So try to control your mind in such a way that now that sense cannot do the smell. So according to him, that is like turning that sense of smell inside. Then it can only smell inside. It cannot smell anything out of the mind. Only it will smell inside the mind. So this way, all the five senses, they will perceive the mind itself and not anything outside the mind. This is the concept that previously they were going out of the mind. That means the mind was going out of those senses. The chitta was going out of those senses and perceiving the external objects, external to the mind. Now those senses will be turned inside. So the chitta cannot go outside. It will go inside only and it will start perceiving itself. That means now the chitta is perceiving itself and you are inside the chitta and no external senses are coming, sensations are coming. This is very, very important because Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodh, it deals with not outside senses, it deals with the inside. That we will cover later. But anyway, whenever you continue this pratyahar practice, what will happen is, see, it is not going to happen easily. It's not easy that something like, suppose you keep a very beautiful perfume next to you and your sense of smell should not perceive that perfume at all. That's very, very difficult. So he says that you have to go on practicing it until your senses are mastered. So after some time, the senses will be mastered, and then that's why he says in 6.21, Tata Parama Vashyate Indriyana, means your indriyas or senses, the senses will be totally mastered. That means after you start meditation, your senses are not going to disturb you at all. Your meditation will take place inside. Okay. So we covered the first 5 limbs. Now all these limbs are dealing with the things which are outside chitta, up to senses only. That is why this whole thing is called external practice. This much you have to remember, that is called external practice. Now we'll go to internal practice next time. So you can easily see that this practice is very, very serious. That means you definitely need a environment. Okay, any questions?
So Neil, this practice, is it attainable? Even take for yourself. Is it attainable?
No, many people, they have this question. According to me, in the normal society, it is not attainable at all. That is why I wrote the Ishwar Pranidhan. That means Ishwar Pranidhan must be done in the normal circumstances. Only in a very rare case, like somebody who is in a very, very rare environment, they can do it. But Patanjali is not telling about environment. Patanjali is written that when he was in the forest. He has not written that sitting in the New York City. Patanjali wrote it, and he also wrote it for those people who are feeling everything is leading to dissatisfaction. So the person who is reached that level, he will be ready to do whatever it takes, That is why Buddha, when he left his wife and child, he was ready for that. That's why he left and went into forest. He could have practiced the everything meditation in his palace, he will get a nice coffee and all that. But he didn't do that. He left immediately. So what you are saying is true, that it is not attainable in the normal life. Normal, what we call normal, means ordinary. But we have to know it. I mean, maybe you will go into forest.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
You should.
yeah, because as we become teachers, what is the message that for me? What is the message I take into the
Message is
practice?
to understand what Patanjali is saying first. That's all the message. First, understand the Patanjali correctly, and if you feel, you must go out. If you don't feel, then just understand it and explain it to people. But due to your explanation, somebody may be interested. 1 in million may be interested. But what I am saying is that it is not attainable. Ishwar Pranidhan must be done. That's why I wrote a new book called Ishwar Pranidhan Sutras. And there I am saying that Patanjali will not succeed unless you do Ishwar Pranidhan. So my Ishwar Pranidhan book, it goes beyond all the practices. And it says that is the most mandatory practice which must be done. Any other question?
Do you feel even if people are making, even say your students are making a genuine effort to incorporate as much of these practices into their modern Western existence, that they will feel?
There are very few people making that practice, because there are some genuine people, but they are finding it is impossible, because today's world is based on money and all that. So
Yeah,
they are not able to do it. This question is coming all the time in the yoga world, that it is not possible, because see, even if you are genuine, you will still need food, and just the food itself is very expensive. Like the food is costing 10 euro. That's a lot for a person to eat. So to make that 10 euro, the person ultimately will be succumb to some practices which are not correct. For example, he will have to work 10 hours instead of 8 hours. So he will not get enough rest. So he will be constantly made to violate. For example, suppose my level of experience is to get $40 a euro, 40 euro per hour. They are not allowing me to work 4 hours. I have to work 8 hours or not at all. So there is no facility for me to balance my lifestyle. So the lifestyle is constantly getting disturbed by the environment. So
Yeah,
yes, there are some genuine people, but they are not able to succeed.
but then even on a lesser scale, say somebody who isn't aiming to achieve like a samadhi
Yeah,
state, but
they
wants
are
to
succeeding.
incorporate.
Yeah, they are succeeding. They are succeeding. But the problem is that some of them, when they succeed, they are using that for material benefit. For example, if they become very good in the Yoga Sutras, suppose they become very good in Yoga Sutras, they memorize the Yoga Sutras, they are able to meditate. Now what they are doing is they are charging people $1,000 for a workshop and using that knowledge because nobody else has that knowledge. So instead of using the Yoga Sutra for their meditation, they are using it to make money. That means they are doing a parigraha, not a parigraha. They are collecting. So
That's
they are getting deluded. Like they are starting and then later they are getting deluded. Like suppose they are not ready for the celibacy. They are inviting many beautiful girls to their class and getting into sexual affairs. So they should first make a provision that this does not happen. That is why in Adiyoga, I'm saying that they should make an environment for what they want. If they want to get good health, they must create good air somehow. They can put plants in their room or they can go to a place where there's good. They cannot have that good health in the sitting in a polluted environment. But there are some yoga teachers, they say that if you do this particular asana or this breathing practice, regardless of pollution, you will become very healthy. That's not possible. So, due to the modern environment, some people, yes, they are doing genuine effort and they are getting, but they have to be always on alert that they don't use that knowledge for something which will ultimately give them negative result. That is why you see, that is why if you look at all the yoga teachers, how many are succeeding in the samadhi state? Nobody is saying that I got samadhi state.
mm,
They are saying it exists, it exists. You go on doing asana better, go on doing, they'll go on telling people like that, but they themselves are not getting there. That's why the problem is. I have a feeling now. See, I wrote Ishwar Pranidhan Sutras, which says that without the surrender, you cannot go there. But now I'm I'm having one more thought that ultimately you have to get a proper teacher, who has gone there. Like you have to have a teacher who has gone there. That only then you will get there. Otherwise, your doubt will not be solved. You have to have somebody who has gone there. At least you have to believe minimum that they have gone there. If you're doubtful whether your teacher has gone to that state, you won't believe in that state itself. You can study the books, but can't believe in it. Any other question? Okay,
No,
so
thank you.
we will meet next Saturday and I will write down. If you want to meet before that, message me and I will write down the homework. Thank you.
perfect.
Yep,
Thanks, Neil.
thank you.